Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to composer Frank Ilfman about his score for Gunpowder Milkshake, which is going to be available on Netflix July 14th. Frank, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's exciting. I mean, the movie is coming out, and you've been working on it for quite some time. Has it hit you that it's finally going to be out soon?
It is, yeah. I mean, I scored it for about a year, over a year, with all the pandemic and everything, and Navot was working on it for a long time. So finally, with everything happening, we finished it, and yeah, that's a summer release date. So it's Netflix in the US and also in theaters as well. And
Yeah.
they're doing a 35 mil print of the film, so it'll be screened in 35 mil, and then it's going to hit UK and then the rest of the world as well during the summer. So it's very exciting.
It's exciting too because people see the trailer and it's high octane, packed with energy, a lot of action, and everything.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that was your mindset when you were kind of putting together ideas for this score? Was that what you wanted to do? What was your kind of mindset with this score?
Um, this one again, it's like the previous one that Navot and I did, Big Bad Wolf. It's a genre blender. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like, okay, what can we do? We have different styles, and then you got all the action scenes. So I was trying to go as crazy as I could, like with some of the actions, and make them a bit more kind of bigger than life. So it's almost like a comic,
Yep.
a comics film, and you know, we thought, okay, how can we be non-conventional with some of the action scene and stuff? So it's a lot of fun, having a mariachi band and a huge orchestra and choir and all that. So we were trying to be quite original with how we approached each of the characters. So there's quite a few of them. So each one has a signature tune to it.
Mhm.
So you can recognize the good, the good, the bad, and the ugly kind of way in that sense.
Yeah.
So it was yeah, it's very exciting.
It's interesting as well because I'm always interested. I guess there's different kind of routes. Your route and journey as a composer and doing scores for movies. Was that something you wanted to do right away? Were you just into music first as a musician, and then it kind of led to it? Like, what? How did you get into doing scores for in film?
By coincidence, I was like, "No, I want to be a rock musician," even though I was playing keyboards and stuff. And I had a band, and we were touring a lot and all that. And then it just kind of happened where somebody said, "Oh, do you want to do some synth programming and stuff?" And I did it for Jan Hammer, and then it just kind of went from there, and just kind of fell into film, and I had a great opportunity of meeting a few great film composers that kind of mentored me throughout the years and stuff. So it was really, I thought, oh, that's a great thing. Never thought about doing that per se,
Mhm.
but it just kind of lended itself into it.
Absolutely. You mentioned, the film being genre blending. I find that interesting. Music in general, I find these days is genre bending and blending as well. I feel like the genre is kind of being thrown out the window a little bit, Frank, where there's a lot of artists out there experimenting, throwing in a lot of different sounds, and not really categorizing themselves as just one type of music. What do you think about that, Frank?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think today, I mean, music in general, it's almost like a cycling thing.
Yes.
We're kind of coming back to other. And today, you've got this kind of orchestral hybrid sections, and but I think people are trying to kind of trying to break the boundaries and do things that you wouldn't really expect to hear.
Yep.
There's obviously, even in Gunpowder, there's cues where you go, okay, that's going to be an action cue, that's going to be that. But even with those kind of patterns, you can still try and break stuff within those patterns and make it a bit more unique. And I think there is something good that happening with a lot of kind of music avenues these days. You can
Absolutely.
hear much more, you can hear much more indie artists that are going into film or doing tracks and so on. So it opens quite a wide scope of things.
Absolutely. The action in this film is big. the cast is big. Were you thinking going
Everything is
big?
everything is big in this.
Exactly. Were you thinking that like you had to go big or go home
Oh yeah,
type
oh
thing with
yeah,
this
oh
score?
yeah, oh yeah. We were like, how big can we get? To some point was like with I remember I was saying to Jeff Atmadjian, my orchestrator, I said, okay, it's the kind of like final battle between the librarians and the baddies, and I said, it's basically the music itself is basically like it's the main theme, four chords, kind of, and that kind of riff, but it's on a repeat, but every time it starts with like a single organ and then it just grows and grows, and we're like, how much can we push an 80-piece orchestra and choir to make it as big, as loud as we can,
Mhm.
so oh yeah, everything is big there.
Do you find because I find it interesting because there's a lot of scores that or the orchestra, like when people think of film scores, they think of orchestra, and of course, right, because
Yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
do you find that's a little bit of a misconception where it doesn't have to be an orchestra for a film score? Like there's like electronic and synthesizer based scores. You know what I mean by that a little bit?
Yeah, the scores I've done, which are pure electronics,
Yeah.
the scores that are a combination of, um, but even in Gunpowder, we have there's a fight scene in the clinic, and that's like that's a kind of baroque ensemble in a mariachi band, and that's an acting scene, and it works great. It makes it kind of quite funny, and it's quite thinking, it's a thinking of like, let's go this way instead of scoring it as you would do an action movie.
When you think you think about the process and the creation and putting together a score for a film, and you identify all the things you kind of enjoy about being a film composer and doing this thing. Is there one of those things, if you had a list of your favorite things about being a composer, is there one thing that's on top of the list over other things that you enjoy the most about scoring for film, Frank?
Um, Um, Not really. I think if you get challenged by a director, and they challenge you to be creative, and not just kind of do a quick rush job. So that's the fun part of doing it. The stress, the long hours, everything that comes with a job. That's part of it. But it's when they challenge you, and ask you actually to think outside the box and come up with something new. That's, I think, the fun of it, basically.
There's
For me,
obviously like the film composer for like Frank Ilfman did the music in Gunpowder Milkshake. You obviously had a team and people that helped you. Do you feel
oh yeah,
like
oh
people don't realize that sometimes that there's a big
yeah.
team behind it?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. There's no way, like doing a movie like Gunpowder. There's no way, or any big, studio film. There's no way you can do it on your own. You have to have a team. This team of I had Jeff Atmadjian, who's like he orchestrated Joker and all those, big James Newton
Wow.
Howard movies. And then I've got Jean-Lou, my assistant, who's, was conforming cues every night, and while I was scoring it throughout the day, with his changes. And then you got music editors, and recording engineers and mixers, and like Casey Stone, who was, I think, we started like even mixing and recording the demos when we had to present it to the studios.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no way you do it on your own. It's just impossible.
There's two ways obviously people could listen to the scores or discover the scores for Gunpowder Milkshake. They could obviously like watch the film and the music's in the background, but then a lot of soundtracks are available to listen, and you can go back and listen to the scores.
Yeah,
From your perspective and your experience, those are completely two different kind of listening experiences. For
yeah.
you specifically, are you able to kind of go back and play back like your soundtracks at all, or is it kind of like what's that like for you, like the playback?
Um, about what, my own
Yeah,
soundtracks,
your
or
own stuff. Like, do you ever go back and like you listen to it maybe like without the visuals? Like, what's that like for you?
yeah, I mean, a lot of times when I'll have like already a few cues. I mean, I always start at 1 and 1 and I go to the end, and or unless I was asked to jump a bit forward and do something. But Yeah, usually about quarter way in, I would put everything as a playlist as they are, and just have a listen to see if they work together, and it's not just too eclectic and disproportion. So
Absolutely.
I might do that, but it's funny because I finished recording and mixing and everything. We sent it over, and then I went to attend the mix a few times. And actually, since then, I haven't heard it until I had to compile the soundtrack and go over the soundtrack, and we were going over the mastering and stuff. And then you start to hear it, and the idea was we wanted to have a certain order of the cues as they are in the film,
Yep.
so they're going to be in a way on the soundtrack, so you can always kind of hear and or visualize the story through the music on the soundtrack. Obviously, if you've seen the film. If you haven't, it may not work.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like usually how I like to have stuff that set up as that when you hear the music and you've seen the film, it kind of tells you the same story, with the odd cue, obviously, in the different places.
100%. Frank, I want to thank you so much for coming on Pop Turn to the chat. This was
My
awesome.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's an exciting time. So they're going to be able to hear your score. They're going to be able to see the film on Netflix July 14th. Your score is in it. It is awesome. So they're going to be able to do that and listen to that, which is exciting. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is at Ilfman, or Twitter, which I think is Frank Ilfman. Keep it very simple.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have a single from the scores being released on the 9th.
Mhm.
It's the goon fight at the bowling alley. And
Awesome.
then the soundtrack itself is coming out through Milan on the 14th, and then a vinyl for Mondo.
So you're gonna it's a cool time right now for you. That's
It
cool.
is very cool time. It is very cool.
Well, enjoy every minute of it. Seriously.
I will. Thanks very much for that.
This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Frank Ilfman and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.